In this video, I'm going to teach you how to talk to strangers and lead them through how you have those conversations so that you can book clients. Hey, I'm Sarah Petty, founder and photographer at one of the most profitable photography businesses in the United States. And I want you to know that you can have a business that makes money and lets you put your family first. You shouldn't have to choose. So many photographers are obsessed with what marketing activities should I be doing? Where should I invest all this money in advertising? No, literally, just start conversations with strangers, walk them through the process of booking them. And I'm going to share with you exactly how to do that. Number one, forget about business and just talk to people. I think people get hung up in, I've got to have that elevator pitch and be ready to pitch people. No, be genuine. Literally, just make it a core value that you're interested in everybody you talk to. I read a quote somewhere that's what's fascinating with life, are the weird and odd and quirky little interactions that you have with people all day long. It's not like let's shove our way through the grocery store and all our errands and everything so we can come home and be happy with our people. If you put on the hat of, I'm just gonna be interested in everyone, everywhere I meet, and be a happy person, and you don't have to be an extrovert to do this. Literally, just have that conversation where you're asking people a few little questions about themselves and just be curious, okay? You can do that, be curious. Next, find an affinity. An affinity is something you have in common because we know people like to do business with people they like, which we just talked about, right? Be friendly, be likable, but they also like to do business with people who are like them. I had a student come to me once and he said, Sarah, I'm a 65-year-old man. I've never been married or had children. How do I relate to these new moms who are having babies? And I said, you can find an affinity with anyone, okay? You really can. Have you ever held a new baby? Does anyone in your family have a baby? Does your neighbor have a baby? If you're a photographer of babies, I would hope that you've had some experience with a baby at some point. Now, that affinity doesn't always have to be directly with the baby. What does the mom or the dad or the partner, what does the parent do for a living? Where are they from? I'm just really naturally curious about people, and I do this unconsciously because I want to find something I have in common with people, because even if I'm not looking at them to be a photography client, I'm interested in, we know the same person or we have this interesting thing in common. That makes life and the conversations we have in life just more interesting. Why not make a connection with someone? Suppose you're at Target, our fancy way we call Target, or Jacques Pinois. That's JCPenney's for those of you who live in towns like mine in a cornfield, so we try to look fancy, right? But if you're at Target or one of those stores and you're in line and you see a mom whose child has a sweatshirt or a t-shirt with the logo on it from the school where your kids go, that's a great way to just say, hey, do you go to this high school or this junior high? That's where my kids have gone. And you immediately have that affinity and that connection. In fact, I'm going to put in the description below some ways that you can start conversations, because I do it naturally, and I sat down for my students and came up with a ton of these, and I want you to have some so you can see how easy it is to actually start a conversation with a stranger. So grab that. But remember, when you find something in common with someone else, it makes it a great segue to open a further conversation about what you do and how you're a photographer. So it starts by being likable and find something that you both have in common. Third, ask the person a lot of questions about themselves. Such a friendly way to break through to people. Just be interested. Oh, that's a cute headband. Where'd you get it? Oh my gosh, I love your running shoes. My husband's a runner. He's obsessed with shoes. Think about how many random things you can start conversations with just by asking people questions and getting them talking about themselves. What's interesting is I love asking people what they do for a living and getting them talking about it, and not in a judgmental way, like, what do you do for a living? That used to drive my dad crazy. But genuinely, like, oh, you guys look creative. Are you in an artsy profession? Or I noticed your bumper sticker with a bunch of medical information. Are you doctors? Or what do you guys do for work? I just find it fascinating. And then this is what's cool. The law of reciprocity shows that they're going to show the same interest back in you. Try it out. They'll say blah, 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 and they'll answer the question. And then they'll say, what do you do for a living? Bam. That opens the door for you to share what you do. So when they ask you, you can tell them what makes you different. Okay, write that down because this is really important. I know what happens with so many of you. You're asked what you do and you instantly snap like a little switch into salesy mode, right? You go into this whole pitch, this whole elevator thing that you think you have to have. No, it's so much easier than that. I like to start out by saying I'm a photographer. I photograph portraits, but my business is totally different than what everyone else does. So right there, I've wiped away any preconceived notion. And a lot of times people will say, oh, what do you mean? And then I go in to explain, I'm not a digital file photographer. I create artwork for people's walls. I explain that I didn't exist as a child. And that's why I'm so passionate, because no one photographed me, let alone printed photos of me. And I want to basically save the world with photos. And I hope you do too. So I get into that conversation with them about that and explain why it's so important for me to have wall portraits and for my clients to have wall portraits. So I don't have anything salesy or pushy or yucky or anything in that conversation. Do you see how easy that is? What's interesting is that you can really feel people out at this point. You can tell by their reaction if they think that's the dumbest thing ever and they get mad. Suppose they do. And they say, oh my gosh, I think that's terrible. I would only go to a photographer who does all the digital files. That's holding them hostage and I have to have them. I get it. I'd say that. I get it. I totally understand how you feel. And that's what's beautiful about the world is there are lots of people who do that. And then I might change the subject and say, what are you doing this weekend? Right? It doesn't have to be an angry altercation. You don't have to jump in and defend why you think your model is different, because sometimes you're just not going to change people's minds. If you start with the what and the why and you educate them on what makes you different, they already will be interested enough, if they're a right fit client, to ask you more. They might say, so what do you mean? Do you frame things? Do you help people make a better decision on sizes and things like that? You know that person might be interested. So you have nothing to lose. I know there are people out there who teach you, oh, just get people in and photograph them and then show them the images and they'll want to buy them. And then you show them prices and they freak out and they melt down. You don't need to hide your prices. You don't need to be ashamed or act like you're doing anything wrong. If you do a really good job and you serve them through the whole process, they're going to love what you have to offer. I truly believe there's no cooler way for people to spend their money, I think it's an investment, than to get big, beautiful artwork of the people they love most. So remember that. You have nothing to lose in these conversations. Just have the conversation with them and be curious. And my last point is keep asking those questions to help you evaluate if they're a right fit client. You'll know through that conversation if they're a right fit. There's no magic bullet you can put on your website that books for you. When you're a portrait photographer who's offering larger wall portraits and books and albums, you've really got to have those conversations. No website will do it for you. The website is a marketing activity, and marketing's job is to make the phone ring. Selling's job, I know you hate that word, but selling's job is what happens when you answer the phone. And having a conversation with a stranger is the exact same thing. Showing interest in them, finding something in common, talking about what makes you different, and then feeling them out, seeing, does this resonate with them? Have they ever had portraits? How do they decorate their walls? I keep that conversation going until I feel like they're a right fit or they're not a right fit. And if they throw a little fit about digital files, it's cool. We just disagree, and it's okay to disagree with people. And it's okay that they want one thing and I want to offer another. It's truly okay, and you're not a bad person for disagreeing with them. And you can still be friends with them, and you can still hang out with them. You don't have to build up head trash and feel bad about yourself. You just don't. Look, if you master these techniques, you will soon find that you don't need a big marketing budget to get clients. You'll talk to people and you'll identify the right people and you'll book them and you'll walk them through your process. You've got this.